As artists, it's important to build a following online, but just how big of a following you actually need to be successful. Greetings everyone, welcome to the underground lair where we bring our creations to life. I'm Scott with Serkworks Art Labs. I'm a professional illustrator, designer, and mad creator because you know what? You have to be a little crazy to do this thing called art. Now, I said it before and I'll say it again, one of the best ways to make a full-time living off your art is to build an audience that loves and supports the work that you're doing. Easier said than done, I know. And I struggle with this with my YouTube channel, with my mailing list, on social media. Now, some people can get lucky and go viral, and that is awesome that that happens to you, but typically it takes a lot of hard work and dedication and just keep chipping at it, chipping away at it, keep starting with that small audience and building and building. Now, I can't tell you how long it's gonna take or how many followers you're gonna need because it's different for everyone. But what I can say is, if you're looking at some of these big YouTubers or big content creators and it just seems overwhelming to you, like, oh, I'll never be able to reach that pinnacle of, you know, the number of followers they have, and just it just seems like this task that is unachievable. But don't worry, you will be relieved to know that you don't need a massive following to be a successful artist. Not all followers are created equal, and it's the quality of your followers, not the quantity, that really matters. I'm going to talk a little more about this. While I do that, I'm going to do a little Star Wars fan art, so let's get to it. Many artists, or people in general, are obsessed with vanity metrics. Often we're judged by the size of our following. I mean, if you tell somebody you have a YouTube channel or an Instagram account, a lot of times they're like, oh really? How many followers do you have? But I'm here to tell you that doesn't always matter. What people should be asking is how many engaged followers do you have? Because if you have 10,000 followers, but only 1,000 of those people are actively engaging in the work that you do, engaging in conversation, commenting, liking, that type of thing, then you really only have 1,000 followers. But that's okay, because as we learned from Kevin Kelly, you can do a lot with 1,000 true fans or 1,000 engaged followers. I don't know what it is, but it seems like everyone's just chasing after these big numbers, just as a, you know, bragging rights or whatever. Just, I mean, it looks very impressive. I mean, you've got, you know, 100,000 followers, and sometimes it's hard for us to wrap our heads around this concept of engaged followers, because while those big numbers don't always convert, they look impressive. Right now, I'm struggling with this whole thing right now with my mailing list. Recently, I decided that I was going to do things a little differently with my mailing list. Before, I had this mailing list that had a lot of cool graphics and everything, and I had tips and I had links to exclusive videos and, you know, art hacks, all this stuff. And then I would have pictures and things from my online store and all this, and you know, and I would send those out on a monthly basis and everything, and they didn't convert as well as I would like. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to try something a little differently. And what I did was I wanted to do it a little more personal, just a straight text-based email that I could send out to people, and just like if I was emailing a friend or something, just basically saying, hey, how's it going? And give advice on, you know, the same kind of stuff I talk about on YouTube, advice for artists, but maybe go a little in depth, or just maybe a simple tip or something like that. Just straight to the inbox and everything, not a lot of frills, not a lot of stuff like that, a little more personal. And then what I started to see was happening, that I was getting a lot of unsubscribes. I mean, more than typical. So, and I was like, oh man, am I doing this wrong? Maybe I should go back to the way I was doing it. But I don't think that's really the way that I should be looking at it, because I was living in the scarcity mindset where I was like, oh, I'm losing subscribers and things like that. But the thing is, I think more people were seeing it because it wasn't going into the, you know, a lot of times it wasn't going into the spam because there wasn't a lot of graphics attached to it, and it was just me, basically something simple, me coming, you know, at somebody with some advice and stuff, just like I would if I was just going to email somebody. So it started to worry me that I was seeing all these unsubscribers. Now, the way that I attract people to my newsletter, if you watch these videos at the end, I always talk about the Comic Maker Starter Kit, which is a really cool suite of tools that you can use to create comics, and that gets people on the email list. But they're not all, sometimes they're just there for that free product. They don't want additional help or advice or anything like that. So sometimes people will, they'll subscribe, they'll get the kit, then they'll unsubscribe right away. But one of the things that I try to do is I try to give additional, tips and advice, again, like I do on the YouTube channel. And then every now and then I give out more free brushes or whatever the case is. So if you're into that first little taste of that free tools, then chances are you'll be interested in getting more. So I'm really trying to offer a lot of value when I put out these emails. I want to build an engaged following, so I prompt people to ask questions. What do they need? What do you guys need help with? And some people respond. And the few people that do, they get a little extra attention. These are more engaged followers. And I was worried about losing subscribers, but if they don't care about the value I'm offering, then they probably don't care about the art tools that I put out, my artwork in general, any Kickstarters that I'm doing, appearances, things like that, etc., etc. They're probably not interested in that. So I have to change my whole mindset when I see these unsubscribers and not get bent out of shape over it, because honestly, it makes more sense to purge the people that aren't interested from my list. Sure, it looks great if I can say I've got X amount of subscribers on my mailing list, but if they don't open the emails, or if they're not interested, whatever the case is, if they have no interest in it, then why would I want them on my mailing list? If all they care about is getting a free set of tools, then there's really no reason for me to want to keep them around on my mailing list, and no value in it for them from their perspective. And while a big mailing list sounds great, the bigger the list you have, the more it costs you. So why would I want to pay more to have people on my mailing list that aren't even interested? So as disheartening as it might seem in the beginning that people are dropping off the mailing list, because I want to put out more value. I'm thinking of putting out, tips and things on a weekly basis. And when that happens, naturally, people are going to fall off. There's going to be people that I think I'm bugging them or whatever if I'm offering them advice or whatever. But there's going to be that small group of people that appreciate that want advice, that want to learn how to become a better artist, a professional artist, how to be a full-time artist. And those are the type of people that are going to stick around, and those are the people that are engaged, and those are the people that I want on my mailing list. So the more newsletters I put out and the more people that start dropping off, all that's doing is filtering out people by their level of engagement. And this goes for YouTube and other social media as well. And as much as it pains me to say this, my following or my engagement isn't quite what I would like it to be. I mean, right now as it stands, I might get, 1,000 views on a video after a week. And that's only a fraction of the number of subs that I have. And those 1,000 views, out of those, I might only get, 20 comments. But those 20 comments are coming from the most engaged people, and maybe a few trolls as well. But that's why I respond to all my comments on YouTube. Engagement's a two-way street, and that goes for the trolls as well. A lot of times somebody will put a negative comment and I will respond positively, and they quickly, a lot of times they'll change their tune, because a lot of times people will just comment because they don't even really expect you to answer, especially if they look at the number of followers. They say, he's got a decent amount of followers, he probably doesn't have the time to talk to me. So they don't really look at you as a person. They just leave a comment, not expecting you to get back to them. But when you do, it's like, oh man, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that. And so that's why I try to respond to everyone. Some people are so bad, but then it's just like, thank you for your comment, thank you for your opinion, I appreciate that, whatever, and leave it at that. But when you're growing an audience, it is super important to engage with them. Like I said, engagement is a two-way street. And that's why, and I know I've been referring to people that consume your content as followers or your audience, but I think maybe I want to change that around and just refer them to them as community, because really it's a back and forth. Instead of just having, you know, people that watch your video and they'll comment and there's no interaction from you, there should be a back and forth, because that invites engagement, real engagement. And you may be saying, okay, that's great, but I don't have any kind of following at all. Where do I even start off? Well, when you're first starting off building an audience or a community in this regard, you don't need to just sit around and wait for people to comment and ask questions and be engaged. You can reach out to them through other communities with similar interests. Start conversations, make friends. That's how you build communities. When I first started off on YouTube, I got involved with something called the 100 Days of Making Comics, and I was sort of fortunate enough to get in on kind of the ground level before there were a lot of people involved. So I was one of the first people to do this, and you may have heard me talk about it before, but it's a challenge where you spend 30 minutes every day working on a comic book project, and then you vlog about it, and you do that every single day for 100 days straight. And that's the gist of it. And it was sort of like a challenge, and a lot of people got involved, and it just became this community that built and built. And now as it built, it started to kind of fraction off, and other smaller communities would like piggyback off of it and become something else. And it just kind of becomes this thing where it sort of splinters and becomes other communities. And that's sort of how you want to approach building your own community, is just go to some of these communities that have people doing similar things that interest you, and just get involved. Start talking to them, make friends, and then people will become more aware of what you're doing, and then they'll start to migrate over to, you know, your own social media, and then you can branch off and start doing your own community. And it's really, you know, it is a lot of work, but it shouldn't seem like work, because all you're doing is interacting with people that share similar interests and like the same things you do. So what's better than that? How easy is that really? It's some time, but it should be enjoyable. Because when you reach out to these other communities, you're going to find people that really click with, you know, the type of thing you're doing. The smaller, the more passionate the group is, you tend to weed out sort of that casual fan, and that's when you start to get engaged fans, followers, and engaged community. But that's the whole idea behind like niching down. I've talked about this. It's that smaller, more passionate group. And once you find those people that are really passionate about one specific thing, you tend to weed out sort of the just casual fans and everything. And that's when you find truly engaged members of a community. You can see how this works. So take, for instance, you know, like a broad hobby, something like woodworking. There's so many different types of woodworking, whether it's making cabinets or making toys or whatever the case is. If you're in this woodworking community, there's going to be a lot of people that are interested in different kinds of woodworking. Now, if you niche down into something like just whittling, then you are going to find really passionate people that are just interested in whittling, and that's the type of people that's what I would call an engaged member when you compare it to the community that you're trying to build. It's the same principle as having a smaller, more engaged audience. So really, that's what I want you to keep in mind. It's not the quantity of your community, it's the quality of your community. And you can do that by finding those people that are super passionate about what you're doing, that are wanting to interact with you, wanting to, you know, that back and forth. And those are the people that you need to double down on and cater to. Those are the people that actually care about what you're doing, not these, you know, whatever 1,000 or 100 or whatever other people that are there. Maybe they subscribe or whatever, but you never see them, you never hear from them. It really doesn't matter if they're there, because they're not really there. It's just a metric, and it's a vanity metric. All right, so anyway, those are my thoughts on how to build an audience, an engaged audience. Just not this massive number of people. I'm just like, how many people can I get to follow me? Because a lot of those people, it doesn't even matter if they're following you or not because they're not engaged. You want an engaged following, and to do that, you've got to be engaging yourself. Reach out to people. Don't just let them comment and they never hear from you. Get back to people, start up conversations, create a community, and once you do that, those are the type of people that are going to be really interested in what you're creating, what you're putting out there, that want to get commissions from you, that want to hire you. Whatever the case is, that's how you build a community of engaged members that are interested in what you're doing. So hopefully that helps. I know it's hard to do because we got that shiny object syndrome, and big numbers like that are the same way. We're always chasing that, but really it doesn't have to be that hard. Just concentrate on a few core people that you find that are really engaged, and they're gonna, trust me, they're gonna be way more valuable than those hundreds of other people that could really care less. So, but what do you guys think? Does this make sense to you? Have you chased these big numbers in the past? Has it just been overwhelming and now you kind of got a fresh perspective and it seems a little more manageable if you're just focusing on a smaller number of really engaged people? Let me know in the comments section, and yeah, that's all I got to say today. I'll see you guys later. That is all. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like what you saw and you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. Also, you can follow me at Serkworks on social media, and now you can support the work that I do on Patreon. Do you like making comics? Then go to Serkworks.com and pick up the Comic Maker Starter Kit. It's packed full of fonts, brushes, templates, and more, and best of all, it's totally free.